Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Sammy Leggett here representing TeamJVS, here to give you guys another movie review. And this is honestly something you should be anticipating and very excited about. I'm talking about Wuthering Heights. This is from the novel that has, I think, had a PBS remastering. It's gotten a couple different remakes, one with Ralph Fiennes, one with Tom Hardy. But this one is something different. It's something special. And the star cast is Jacob, Margot, Robbie, and of course, you got Owen Cooper. If you've seen Adolescence, he's playing the young Heathcliff. Hong Chow, if you've seen Watchmen, if you've seen Acts of Kindness, if you've seen Menu, you've seen The Whale, she's amazing. It's also got Ewan Mitchell and Alison Oliver. But let's get into it. So you got Heathcliff and you got Catherine. Catherine, she had a really rough upbringing because her dad was pretty much alone, and he basically kind of had a servant person in Hong Chau's character, Nellie, that kind of went and raised / grew up with Catherine. But he really was somebody that was very alcoholic, and he could not maintain himself. And so, of course, that bled over to certain things that basically Catherine inherited. Our best way I can kind of put it, unfortunately. One day he takes in a stray. His name is Heathcliff. And from that point, the trajectory of Heathcliff and Catherine's life changes, and it changes the whole entire environment around him. Now, this is the thing I'm going to say about this film. First things first. The set designs, the costume work, the cinematography, A1. As far as what I've seen this year for 2026, this is number one in terms of those three categories. There's a moment that you see like the background of somebody's wall, right? And the background of the wall is actually the pigmentation of somebody's actual face. Down to like the freckles. And I was like, what am I watching? But then you have certain moments where the costume work is just so bleak and this and that. But then when you start to see like certain other things of upper class nature, like a castle and different things, like you start to see like the things that they wear, whether it might be glasses, whether it might be certain jewelries. But the way and the aesthetic of it, I was like, did Guillermo del Toro, was he involved in this? Because like the aesthetics is insane. But there's a lot of great camera work because they go in a lot of different locations, and how they film some of these very intimate, very, there are moments that you can miss if you're not paying attention. But the way that they handle the camera and the transitions are near perfect. So you never miss anything. And last but not least, Jacob and Margot are on it. Specifically, Jacob. The Jacob you see in the first, I want to say 30 or 40 minutes of this, is very different than who you see in the transition. Matter of fact, there's a transition that happens in such a way that I think everybody that was in the theater, we were smirking, we were laughing, we were like in shock. Like, we were like, what is happening? And I was like, if you've seen Euphoria, is that Nate? Is this, what's happening? And I think that the way they build up their relationships, and again, this is all taken from source material that Emily was able to go and create. I think it's in the 1800s, matter of fact. But no matter what's on the page, you can't teach chemistry. You can't teach emotional mannerisms that transition more than what a person says or what they inflect. And I think Margaret has always been amazing. But with this, there's a wholeness to the romanticism and even the sensual natures of this that I don't think I've seen in a very long time. But I think the thing that makes this so hard to realize and accept is it also comes with a lot of toxicity. There's so much negative enforcement because of circumstances. It may be because of upbringing, you're just spoiled by nature. It may be because you were taught cruelty and only know cruelty. And the other side of what you are because of the love that you have in connection. And I think even more like that, like the tragedy of this, they go on to certain links that I was just like, I didn't know it was as important. It just went tit for tat. And I think the other thing that they created a false perception for me. And I don't watch a lot of trailers, to be quite honest, because I don't like knowing everything, right? But I thought that this was going to be very rated R. Like, when I mean rated R, I thought it was going to be a lot of high nudity and a lot of sexual scenes, and there's a lot of sex scenes. There's a lot of sensual things that are going on. There's a lot of inferred things that are going on. But the movie shows tact and doesn't show those things. And I think that threw me off, and I appreciate it in hindsight afterwards. But while I was watching it, it's like, this is bad, but I didn't know it was going to kind of stop. And they do that quite a bit towards the second and third act. And I was kind of like, I was really surprised. I was caught off guard because I thought this was going to be very risque. And I think it, based on kind of the marketing, it was kind of like a lot of this other stuff. And I think even when I'm looking at other films that are very raw and do go those lengths, like, Pillion, like I didn't know if the gloves were going to be off. And they're not completely, but they also are. And I think that that's a good thing because you don't want to lose sight of things. And I think that the very first act, I think, is perfect. I really, truly think this is what the beginning to the middle are some of the best things I've seen in a very long time. I was rallying for this love story. I was captivated by it. I was completely in it to the point that I was like, this has got me. And I think what they do in the second to third act, I kind of felt like, not that I was being meandered, but I was kind of like, we're dragging our feet a little bit. Not that it's slowing down, but I was kind of like, I don't know if we're going anywhere. It's almost like you have like an amazing vehicle that's going and hitting a trajectory that now you're in snow and it's spinning tires and you're trying to hit over it. And I think that's what happens in the second to third act for me specifically. But it doesn't take it away from the performances or the artistry or anything about how they handle this. And even what I'll give props to with Owen Cooper, because he plays the younger version of Heathcliff, and he is on it. And so does Charlotte Mellington. She plays the role of a young Catherine. I mean, they won me first, and I think that it, even down to the end, it really does. You accept that these people, as toxic and as broken as they are. And that was the other thing. Martin Clones, who plays the role of Catherine's dad, he was in his bag. Like, man, So they did a really good job with so much. And yeah, this is an easy 9 out of 10. Like, I have my issues with the trajectory of where it goes, but that's just nitpicking, really, just because of the story aesthetic or the narrative. Everything else is amazing, and it's hurtful, and also at the same time, it's amazing. That's the best way I can put Wuthering Heights. Go and check it out. I want you guys to let me know what you thought about it, and I got more coming. Hold on. Peace. One small little thing to add about Wuthering Heights that I really loved was the freaking soundtrack was crazy. Like, it set the tone for something completely different that I didn't know where we were going. And I love the beat drops. I love the octaves. I love how they kind of transitioned to like an upbeat like thing that's going on. And the other thing that I wanted them to hone into was like the deaths and the hangings and what that looked like and why it was a connection. They didn't go as hard as I think they could have. That's kind of kept me from a point. But again, I do think that soundtrack, score, all of it, excellent. All right, bye.
Falling out the top of the I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline.